Tim is so good at storytelling that I can probably just launch into this and he'll probably take it from there.
We've known each other. Yeah, we've known each other for a while, so you know what we can do together. So it's good. It's good.
The way that Tim Harrison came up on my radar was there was a cougar running loose in Dayton, Ohio, I believe. And usually when that happens, the cats end up being killed. And he ran in there with a snare pole and saved that cat's life. And that just made him a Guardian Angel Award winner for me. And so we used to have a big fundraiser ourselves called the Fur Ball. And he was a recipient of one of our Guardian Angel Awards, or the Guardian Angel Award that year. And then since then, I've gotten to know him and Mike Weber. And Tim Harrison has written some books like Wildlife Warrior. He just wrote a new one called White Magic. And I think there may be more books. You can tell me in a minute, Tim. And then he's the star of the Conservation Game film. And that's going to be available live tomorrow, the next day, and the next day. So November 14th, 15th, and 16th, you guys will be able to watch the Conservation Game film on ticket, and I'm thinking that's the conservationgame.com, the conservationgamefilm.com. Does anybody know?
The conservationgame.com.
I'm not sure on that one. I know you can go to the conservationgame. I think it's .com, and then they have it on that listing on there. What you can do to get a ticket for the event.
So I'll look up that link, and Tim, maybe you could tell some people here about that first incident with the cougar that brought you up on my radar, and then talk about how it was that you came to work on that film, the Conservation Game film, and how long and what it was about.
Yes, I sure can. It's been a long journey. I've been involved with these dangerous, exotic, and wild animals for 47 years. But it was one of those situations where I got into it. There's really not anybody else was really doing much, back then, especially in my area. And when catching the cougar, I made a point that since I was getting all this experience working for the veterinarians and the zoo vets I worked with, and I was able to do this, get out and catch animals, get animals to safe places, so the animals and the people wouldn't be hurt, both. People started calling me a human animal advocate. That's been my title for all these years, as a human animal advocate. So I got called out, which is one of hundreds and hundreds of calls I've been on, where they stated that the Dayton Police Department, who I train also as for defensive tactics and everything else, so we're all tight-knit group. I'm a retired police officer, firefighter, paramedic for the city of Oakwood there near Dayton, Ohio. They gave a call and said, hey, we have a mountain lion that's actually attacking us. It's loose here in the city of Dayton on Xenia Avenue down near the pretzel factory. That's right in Dayton. So, my dispatcher calls me. I'm on the street. I get off the street, change my clothes real quick, get in the cruiser. As I was going to get in the cruiser to go over there, one of my partners threw me a bull rope. He was a cowboy. Just happened to throw me a bull rope, and I grabbed one of the dog snares. We had no dart rifles at that time. We had nothing, even the animal control. What they had was a really crappy dart rifle that wasn't something you can, take a chance with, really. It doesn't work that well. So by the time I got there, as I was driving down the alleyway, one of the officers there was point like this, and they're all telling me this cougar was trying to attack them. So I come around the corner with the cruiser, and I see the cougar walking down the alleyway. And it wasn't a gigantic one. It's no bigger than 80 pounds. Once they had to dart it later to put it through a physical and everything else, check it. But it was right around 80 pounds. And it was funny because it's walking right down the alleyway between businesses and homes. And as I saw it, it took one step. It saw me. I got out of the cruiser with my dog snare, my dog rope, or my bull rope. I started walking towards it. It saw me. It immediately took one step and bounded over a 10-foot fence like it was nothing. Big wood fence, just right over top of it into a yard area. So I went around the other side, came up, and the Dayton officers were trying to corral it into this fenced-in area there, keep it in the fenced-in area. One of the officers, as it came around, the cougar started charging after one of the officers, and I threw the bull rope. But I'm not a cowboy. I've never thrown a bull rope in my life. But I threw it, and the cougar ran right into it, and I pulled it. It went around its neck. He flipped end over end, and as I was flipping end over end, it rolled into some bushes. So I'm pulling the rope, and I'm reaching back for my partner to hand me my dog snare that I dropped. As I was doing that, the cougar starts rolling violently and thrashing. The growling, of course, enough to blow your ears you've been around cats, blew your bear drums out. And as we reached back to get the dog snare, the cougar doesn't, cats don't have much of a neck. It popped that rope right off its neck, turned, and just went right after me. Immediately charged me with paws out, everything coming straight at me. I took the dog snare, stepped to the side, stared it right in the mouth when it was coming in, flipped it over, and you can see these photos on Outreach for Animals, our Facebook. And I flipped it over, pinned it down. The other officer came in, grabbed a hold of the back leg with another dog snare, and now we have a cougar underneath 2 dog snares we have no idea what to do with. And the animal control van is outside the fenced-in area parked along the street. So everybody's freaking out. There's neighbors, the news media just showed up after we got the cougar in the van. All we had was photographers taking pictures. That's all we had. We had no film at that time. But it was so wild. I was like, here we already have it now. What are we going to do with it? I'm pinning its head down, and I'm trying to hold it down. And we're looking back and forth. And all of a sudden I said, we got to get it to the animal control van. So I grabbed what I call God's handle. Its tail was whipping back and forth. Picked it up. And as he held the back paw, one of the back paws in his dog snare, and I had the jaw in the mouth and the other dog snare, we started going towards the animal control van down through the through the yard and everything else. And it's going crazy, literally going crazy. In the process of walking down the sidewalk, you can see the picture later on. The photo that was from the crime scene investigator took those photos. I'm walking right down the sidewalk. There's police officers next to me and firefighters next to me. I'm walking right through them with citizens with this cougar, and that cougar peed all over me. My whole side is soaking wet. And I told everybody every time I do my lectures and stuff, I said I felt like doing the exact same thing. I was that scared. We got the cougar there. We were able to get it into the back. Well, first, we weren't allowed to put it in the animal control. As Carol and the rest of you can tell you, especially back in the, I think it was the 90s, I think it was. It was funny because animal control had nothing to do with exotic animals. They would not take an animal. They would not come and dart an animal. They would not do any of that. There was nobody to help these animals in my area. At that time, the tri-state area, Indiana, Ohio, and Kentucky. So I had to step up and take them out of that with my family and friends. We were ones doing the rescues, and my fellow officers and firefighters. So we get there, they wouldn't let us put it in any animal control vans. We're fighting with this cougar till the lieutenant pulls up. It was a minute and a half of fighting with a cougar trying to claw you and bite you, even though it's dog's there, and you're trying to hold it. He's upside down, which I understand he's upset, but come on, I'm just trying to help you. And finally, the lieutenant comes up and goes, "That's my animal control. We're taking it, right?" So we open up the back, throw the cougar in, and put it in there. I release the gag thing on it, pulled back, and my animal control stick back. We closed the gate, and now we have a cougar inside there. And the really sad part about it, what it was, as the story developed, was there was a family who lived in that house just down from the pretzel factory. That's, as we found out later, this is a kind of a typical story around the United States, just like what happened in Houston a couple years ago when they found the tiger in a house, allegedly empty house with drug addicts. Is that the family just moved out and left their cougar, just left it. And what it did is chewed through the door and escaped. So people were spotting this cougar, get this now, Carol, they were spotting the cougar 2 weeks before that, taking pictures just like Monster Quest or one of those shows on, Discovery Channel about looking for cryptozoology things. They were taking photos of it. They were showing it to everybody. It was a silhouette. It was definitely a cat. But they told them, the animal, the ODNR and all of them came in, the animal people there for the state come in, and they said, no, that's a Labrador Retriever. That's what they told them.
Oh, my goodness.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Then later on, we found out, once I started developing laws and passing laws in the state of Ohio, like Dayton, Cleveland, I helped all those cities, is that we started working with ODNR, and they had that as their protocol. If somebody tells you they see a black leopard or they see a cougar, you immediately tell them it's a Labrador Retriever. Their eyes are messing around with them. If you have a chance, if anybody's, also too, please watch The Elephant in the Living Room. It's on Amazon Prime for free right now, and it tells you, it has actually people talking about having cougar sightings. They even say it. It's like an alien sighting, and people just don't believe us. And then if you really want to step on it, the Inside Edition undercover piece, the first one I did, We showed the undercover auctions there in the state of Ohio with all the zoos and the roadside zoos and everybody else selling their surplus, animals to the, as they call them, zoo surplus animals to the general public. They had leopard cubs stacked on top of each other. They sold 13 at that auction, and the guy even told me, and my partner Russ Muntz, who you'll see in the conservation game, he's law enforcement also, they actually told us, they said, no, we average about 13 to 14 every auction. That's black leopard cubs. Now cougars are just all over the place when you go to these auctions. They're everywhere. So when people start telling me, oh, cougars are coming back in Ohio, cougars are coming back here, no. These are people's pets because they tell you, I turned it loose. Just like what happened with the pythons in the Everglades. Nobody else will take them. They don't want to kill their animal. They turn it loose. So that's what we had a lot of sense. And I really appreciate the Guardian Angel Award, too, because I had nobody ever say boo to me about anything I was doing, Carol. I really appreciate it. And my wife was even laughing about it. She goes, they're going to give you an award? After all these years you did, nobody's going to give you an award? And I said, I can't believe it. This is kind of amazing. And I really appreciate it because it really made me feel like maybe, meeting you and hanging with you guys and realizing what you were doing. And, there's other major groups out here doing good stuff I need to get involved with. I'd still be just by myself here, just in this little area doing what I was doing. But, you stoked it with that. You got my interest, and let's pick it up and protect these animals because, they were going to shoot that cougar. That was the only thing they could do. And my friends that are Dayton police officers did not want to shoot that cougar. Did not want to shoot it.
I know when that brought you up on my radar, but you had been doing animal rescue for a long time before that with Outreach for Animals. So do you want to talk about how you started that and why you started it?
Yes, Outreach for Animals is an organization that started with police officers, firefighters, paramedics, animal control, and some veterinarians. We had a hard time with a lot of vets because, especially in our area, they would declaw big cats as pets. We had a ton of them up here, as you know, Carol. A lot of people, we're talking about our state of Ohio has 5 AZA zoos. Now, no other state has 5 accredited AZA zoos in it, and it had a whole bunch of roadside zoos, whole bunch of auctions, whole bunch of breeders in the state. There was no law here. So we, as law enforcement, I started going to all these conferences and stuff and talking to other law enforcement from the tri-state area. They're all telling me, man, I ran into this, I ran into that. What do we do about it? Our prosecutor has no idea what to do. We have no laws. Here's a guy with 6 chimps in his house, or 5 tigers in the backyard. And I started thinking to myself, well, the only way we can get around this, because we're going to continue catching and going after these things or killing them, unless some legislation is passed so that the good people will not buy these things. I know laws, people always say, well, Tim, the laws don't make it perfect. Well, at that time, over 80% of the population, somebody was doing something silly with an exotic animal, either getting their photo taken at the fairs. Well, you can ask Joe Exotic, hate to bring his name up. Joe would tell you Ohio is a prime area. That whole area for coming up to carnivals, fairs, malls, to do that the cub petting and getting your picture taken with.
Carol asked me to join as a speaker.
Yeah, it was crazy because there was just so much going on up here. So we had to start something. We had to start a nonprofit because we were taking money out of our own pockets. We had no donations. We didn't know how to get donations. We're public servants. We go out and do. So we weren't asking for donations. So I started this nonprofit with Russ Muntz originally, who you'll see in the conservation game. And we had to. And we started educating. And we started doing things, to help out the public. I started going to schools. I started talking. I got on TV a few times just to get the information out. These are not pets. Let's not do this. And my biggest success story in my area was when Jack's Aquarium, that was a national chain at that time, was selling alligators, baby alligators, in the tri-state area. I appeared on a Fox local network called Channel 19 in Fox, in Cincinnati, and I appeared on their show, and I was, telling stories about the alligator, and I showed the alligator that I actually rescued, that they were going to kill. It was loose in a lake. And all of a sudden, all these kids, I started going to all these elementary schools and junior highs, all these kids got together and started protesting at Jack's Aquarium. It was kids. It wasn't adults. And they started protesting at all the Jack's Aquariums in the tri-state area. And Jack's Aquarium stopped selling alligators. And they didn't have to. There was no law. And I thought, this is the way to go here. This is it right here. I'm learning something every time. So that's why we started Outreach for Animals. It was cops, firemen, and animal control paramedics and veterinarians. But now we're emergency room doctors, pediatric physicians. We got a lot of attorneys. A lot of people have jumped on board now. A lot of well-known authors, a lot of well-known people that are in that do things, in other professions, as athletes and things. They've jumped on to help us out, and I'm very excited about it now. And I love it now, Carol, because now we have the things that happened over the years. The Big Cat Sanctuary Alliance. I just made it have right before Christmas. All I had to do is make a phone call. And we got breeding tigers and breeding lions immediately up to Wildcat Sanctuary up in Tammy T's up there. It wasn't like it was in the old days where we had to go around and say, what are we going to do? What's going to happen? Just like you see in the elephant in the living room. Where can we take these animals, right? Now it's like you make a phone call. There's so many good groups and so many good people out there that it's really touching. And it's also makes you realize the good people were there. It's just that they had to be shown what was going on.
Until you said that, I had forgotten all about that scene in The Elephant in the Living Room where you are just calling everybody you can think of because you need somebody to have an open space for rescuing a tiger, I think it was. Can you tell people about that film, what led you to do The Elephant in the Living Room, what it was about?
Yeah, I can do that. I had already done about 5 different National Geographic. I did Animal Planet, 4 or 5 Animal Planet shows. I did a bunch of stuff, and I almost had to take a shower after every one of them. It was like, I don't like this. I don't like the feel of it, but I thought I was doing the right thing at the time. I finally sat down with my wife, and I said, nothing's coming out of this. I'm not getting donations for the animals we're working on surgically. Nothing's happening. It's just like entertainment. Nothing's coming from this. So I decided to back away. Well, I wrote 2 books. I always count them. I'm a published author. The publisher came to me. She originally came to me and asked me to write down these stories. She saw me on TV, and I said, okay, I can write some stories down, draw some cartoons, because I'm an artist too, so I drew some cartoons. So the first book was Wild Times, Tales of Suburban Safaris. It did very well. And so to the point, I wrote a second one about 5-6 years later called Wildlife Warrior, More Tales of Suburban Safaris, and it actually tells you how to become a true wildlife warrior. Not the fake kind in Australia, but the real, true wildlife warrior. What to do with your legislation, what to watch at the auctions, get your rear end down to these auctions in time, just walk through, you're going to be stunned what you see, things like that. So the books came out, the first two books came out, and I helped a lot of other people. As you know, Carol, I'll help anybody out that's trying to do the right thing. And I've been in a bunch of books, and Charles Siebert wrote a fantastic book about Zanesville. He's a best-selling author. It is kind of I'll step up and help him. So I'm trying to get the information out the best I could and everything, and I thought everything was going pretty well. But I decided I was not doing entertainment anymore. Never again. It's never going to happen. I'll never do another show, and I got a ton of them bothering me all the time, just to want to follow me around. I get a phone call from a nice-looking gentleman that we both know, Michael Weber. He's an actual movie director and producer, and he worked for Lionsgate, 20th Century Fox, and things like that. Well, he called me up. He actually called me at work. A friend, I did security work. I used to bring in famous artists, both regular artists, painters and stuff, jewelers, and also musicians. I used to be kind of a bodyguard, work for them. And there was a guy named Dave Tillman, and he worked for a jewelry store, which I used to bring David German in, which is a famous jeweler. And I used to bring him in, and I told stories all the time, and they love it, tell the stories. Well, David was a friend of Mike's. So David tells Mike, you got to read these books. He gives him the books. He flies to Poland and film a horror movie. And in the process of flying over there, he's reading these books. In his mind, he's thinking he wanted to do his first documentary. He hadn't done a documentary before. And he's reading these books. He's like, oh, man, just half of this stuff is true. This would be one of the greatest things ever put on film, right? And so he gets over and he calls me, and he starts bothering me. I mean, literally, I would start off as being bothered. He's a nice guy, but he kept saying, no, really, I'm an artist. I'm different. I'm going to make it more beautiful, more storytelling instead of just this dynamic documentary of bang, 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 everybody's wrong and all that stuff. He goes, I like your technique. I like the way you speak. I like the way you do things where you don't blame anybody. You just come in and help the animals first, and then we make a decision what to do. And I didn't want to do any of it. I balked at it. I fought it. And finally, he calls me up one day and he just says, "Can I come ride with you in the police cruiser?" I said, "Sure, come ride with me." He rode with me for, I don't know, like a month and a half or something like that. It was one of my slower times at that time. He took that footage, developed it in some beautiful artistic story. I never saw that. I never saw that one. But he took it to Silver Docks International Film Festival over in Maryland. And he won. He won the ACE Award with it. He calls me up and he says, "Tim, we got money now to finish the documentary." And I kind of even forgot about it because this is months later. And I said, "Okay, yeah, whatever you want to do. You're a good guy. Even though he's 6'4" or so, he would disappear. He's got a dynamic personality too, but he disappears. Not the people there just love him. Everybody, and we're talking about, we're dealing with, as you know, Carol, out there, people listening out there do this work. These people are dangerous people a lot of times. And in fact, going to Terry Brumfield, the gentleman that had the lions on the elephant in the living room, the first film we did together, guns were involved, a lot of anger, a lot of being upset, and we were able to that's my magic, is to get on people's property and help them. Well, Mike talked me into doing the documentary, and so we did the elephant in the living room. The only thing, Carol, you've been through this too. Walk over here because the light's better behind you. I thought, this is bull, right? What's he telling me to walk over here for? And I was like, walk over there. And I didn't think anything of it. But the first rundown, we went and he showed it to me. I knew why he wanted those shots, because it wasn't just a documentary. It was a story that everybody's going to remember if they ever saw it. And he's an artist. He's an absolute artist. I hate to minimize it, but he's like a puzzle master. He takes all this stuff and he puts it into a beautiful puzzle. Takes all the pieces and puts it together and makes this unbelievable piece of art. And that's what happened with The Elephant in the Living Room. And it won the Genesis Award, beat Oceans from Disney, beat all the big ones, and he won a bunch of film festivals and did very well with it. And it kind of helped change the world, the way people understood what was going on here, especially about the auctions. A lot of people didn't know anything about those. It exposed quite a bit. And it was a blessing. It was absolutely a blessing. A blessing to meet him and a blessing to meet you and all the other people out there that we've been dealing with. It's good to have a family of people that when you don't even have to say a word to each other, you know what the mission is. And that's what it's like being on a SWAT team, and that's what it's like being a firefighter.
I know you worked on the conservation game for over 5 years, and I don't think it turned out to be where it started. I think it kind of evolved as you discovered more and more along the way. Can you talk about that discovery process and what the film ended up being?
Yes, it's funny you said that, because it did evolve. And first of all, the best thing that happened was, I knew of Jeff Kramer, but I wanted him no matter what. I know what you guys thought of him, and I saw his work, and I just liked him. And Mike talked to Howard before about it, and you both, and said, you got to have Jeff. And so we had Jeff on board, and Carney Ann Garcia, Michigan State University Law School. We had worked together in Las Vegas. We got the laws passed in Las Vegas, helped her with a bunch of other stuff. She's helped me. And like she said, at Harvard, we were just at Harvard a couple of weeks ago showing the film and speaking to the law school there. And she said, there's only a handful of people. If they call me, I'm there. And Tim's one of them. And I said, hey, that's the same with you and Jeff and Carol, whoever it is, or that little knit group we have. If you make the phone call, they're there. Then we had Keith Gadd, National Park Ranger and federal investigator, who helped bring the wolves back to Yellowstone. He was part of the security for that, to the point I got to come out and help him. And he was one of my ex-martial arts students that grew up and became very one of the top guys in that field. And there was Russ Muntz, who was a law enforcement and a great investigator who was part of Outreach for Animals. So we all kind of got together with Mike, and we sat down, and it started off with just Mike and I talking for days and days and days, almost months. How do we want to go about this? And I wanted to be a law enforcement. I wanted to be an investigation, kind of like the walls, kind of like what we do as cops. And he loved it. We worked it out in a way. His sight for things, looking at things, he goes, okay, we'll do that, but it's not going to be the copy-looking thing that we have that you guys do. It's going to be something that's going to be expansive. And it was. And it's funny, like you talk about evolving. There's a scene he didn't put in there. We're all sitting around picking which, I'm going to tear up here in a minute, picking which cats we were going to try to find. And you know how that is, Carol, when you have to sit down there and go, oh my God, there's 500. And we got to pick out 30 maybe out of that. And Russ Muntz, hardcore, seen it all, police officer, firefighter, paramedic. I remember him turning and looking at me. None of it is acting. This is all real. And he looks at me and goes, what about the rest of them? He's got tears in his eyes. I never seen him get tears in his eyes we've been through hell together. And he's like, what about the rest of them? And I said, well, these 30 or so are going to be the ones that's going to save the rest, hopefully, in the future. And you know how hard it is to triage, when you got patients as a paramedic, who's going to live, who's going to die. But you have to sit down and say, man, we can't do all these. We have to narrow it down. And I even say we have to figure out which ones we can get good data on, close enough that we can get good data. So that's how it got started. We sat down, ran through ideas. We started filming. We started going to do things, started investigating. We knew the one goal we wanted to do was put me face-to-face with all the conservationists, because I've all been around them already. And these guys, I want to beg them, as you saw in the film, I'm begging them to help me find these animals. And the style I was going to use, that we agreed upon, was that it's like missing children. And these are the last guys seen with a missing child. And that's my angle when I come to them. You're the last one seen with them. And it's their ambassador animals. Always remember it, everybody listening out there, that when they say something on TV from this point on and go, well, it wasn't our cat, it was Disney's cat, or ABC got that cat for me. No, that's your ambassador animal. You're the conservationist. You're the animal expert that everybody's listening to. So it's your ambassador animal. Don't let them blow any smoke up anybody's dresses. This is exactly the truth. They should know what's going on. The one that broke my heart the most, Jack Hanna, I had a feeling. I've dealt with him before. Some of you've seen on our Facebook. During Zanesville, I went face-to-face with him many times over things. And but the one that broke my heart was Boone Smith, because he's a big cat tracker. He just did the snow leopards over in the Himalayas. At that time we were filming. He's friends with a couple of friends I know who work for National Geographic, and they actually got him on TV. And here I'm asking questions. There's a line that Mike left out of the film where I actually say, so you're telling me you have no idea what happened to those snow leopards or those cougars that sit on your lap on the Today Show? You have no idea what happened to them. Here you are, the #1 tracker in the world. You can't track what happened to an endangered species sitting on your lap, where it went from that point on and where it even came from. I said, maybe in a show that he had at that time, he put these little rings around the young snow leopards' necks so they could follow them with the antenna, the radar stuff. I said, maybe we ought to start putting the rings around those cats' necks before you bring them on TV so we can find them later. We can track them down. Wow. He didn't like that. He didn't like that at all. But I didn't like what he was saying to me either. And the whole thing was, I wasn't there to make confrontation. I was there to get them to help me find these animals. That's all I cared for. Find one. And the one thing I did say that Mike and I agreed on, but we didn't put it in, or he didn't put it in his production, is that I told him, I said, listen, I said, if it was my cat, I know where every cat, every animal that I've rescued over the 47 years was or is. So if somebody comes up to me and says to me, they come up to me and say, hey, we don't know where Nora's at, a white type, we don't know where Nora's at. I would be in the vehicle, I'll be on a plane, I would be out there, and you know me, Carol, I'll be out there, and we're going to try to find out what happened to that cat immediately. And these people just don't care. They literally do not care. It's all money, it's all ego, it's all fame. And it's disgusting. So to make this film, I told Mike, I said, I'm praying that one of these guys will say, Tim, let's go look for one of these cats. Let's go look at least for an endangered one. And when Jack Hanna said what he said, and what, Susie Rapp, from the committee, the zoo committee animals, when she looked at me and she goes, look, basically put us out of business. I mean, oh my gosh, that's like putting a wooden stake through my heart. It's like, this is a business. You're dealing with endangered species. If that happened over in Nepal, or over in the Himalayas over there, or India. If somebody would take a tiger cub, just pick it up and carry it out of the jungle, you're under arrest for being a poacher. You would be put in prison. You might even be shot over there. Over here, you're awarded for it. You're clapped. You could have a $4 million ranch out west. Come on. So ridiculous. It's so ridiculous. And we know what happened to the CITES with the Chinese. You have a bigger problem with tigers and big cats in your country than we do in China. And basically what they're saying is true. That's why the Big Cat Public Safety Act has to be passed. It has to be the figurehead to go through this and stop all this madness. Because you'll see the difference once people realize, and police see the conservation game. Everybody asked me all these questions. I just got off a couple interviews the other day, and I told them, I said, I can tell you everything you want to hear. I said, but you've got to watch the documentary. And that's what I told them with the first one. You have to see it to understand it. You have to watch it. It explains everything. I don't have to tell you anything. It explains everything. We're in Columbus. People supporting the Columbus Zoo were there. People from the Columbus Zoo were there. And after it was over with, they handed me their cards saying, we want to work with you. So that tells you a lot. And Carol, I have to give them credit to the new zoo after they fired everybody and moved everybody out of the Columbus Zoo and did a house cleaning, is that the people there want to make it a better place than the ones they have now. And the sad part of it is, the only comment I say back to them is, where were you 20 years ago? Where were you 10 years ago? Where were you last year? I don't want to be sour grapes, but come on, people. It's obvious something's wrong going on here, And thank God we were able to show it, expose it, and be able to have people like the AZA step up and go. Dan Ash, the president, hey, everything in there is true. We want to make it better. Wow, I know, Carol, you had to be surprised when you heard that. I was very surprised that they just come out and said, yes, everything there is true.
I think that says a lot about them, that they did fess up to it, and hopefully things will change. And I put a link up here at the top of the page to the conservation game film, and Tim is absolutely right. You guys need to see it, and you can buy a ticket to see it for the next 3 days only online, and then it won't be available online until it goes out to a major distributor. So be sure you watch it tomorrow, the next day, or the next day by getting your ticket there. And then, Tim, since this is your first time on ClubHouse, the way this works is for the next 30 minutes, what we're going to do is the people that are all in line underneath you are up there because they have either a question or a comment that they would like to make to you. And so to get through those in 30 minutes, it's going to have to be pretty short questions and answers. But I'm going to turn it over now to see if Deb has a question for you.
Tim, I'm so happy that you're here tonight. I have been fortunate enough to see the conservation game and was just in awe of it. And then, of course, today I watched Carol Baskin's cage fight. So all of that together has just kind of lit a fire under me. And it's just a real honor that you're here tonight. I don't really have any questions, so I'm just going to move on and let someone else ask a question. Karen, did you have a question or comment?
Well, we all know better than that, Deb. Of course I do. Tim, I feel with you and Carol both just completely starstruck. I told that to Deb before. I am completely in awe of what the two of you do. That's taken over the years, and to stick with it, it's a miracle, honestly, to me. But I wonder, well, first of all, you're like the poster child for the Big Cat Public Safety Act, because you're trying to cut out the cub petting because you don't believe in it, and it's a horrible, horrible thing. But you've also been on the other side of it, where we do try to get some members of the House and Senate to look at it as a safety issue. So you can kind of talk to both sides, which is completely amazing. So you could actually be the poster child, and to me you are. But what my question is today, do you get pushback from people? I've seen the film as well, with not believing that these superstars to us. I'm 58. Hannah was, I watched The Tonight Show growing up and saw him all over the place. Are you getting people saying to you, because I do the main page for Facebook on the Big Cat Rescue's main Facebook page, so we do get a lot of pushback saying, oh, he would never do that. How can you, when I actually saw it in front of my face. But how are you, are you being treated differently that you expose these people, and are you getting people that don't believe it?
Well, it's funny you said that because I'll make it short here, but the only people I'm getting pushback from are the ones that haven't seen the documentary. The ones that, just like I said, with the Columbus Zoo people that saw the documentary, the supporters that showed up with their Columbus Zoo sweatshirts on to take me down and take Mike down and take us down, they're on their side 100% after they saw the film. In fact, it's been so stunningly, I think Carol can admit to this too, it's stunningly shocking to me the support I'm getting here in the state of Ohio. I'm in the snake bed here. And it's just the opposite. It's just the opposite. Now, there is people out there that say those things, but they haven't seen the film. I haven't had one person that's seen the film come up to me and say anything negative yet.
Thank you, because I've said to people, when you see it with your eyeballs, I don't know how you can dispute it. There's really not any way. So that is the best thing. And I could go on, but I'm not. I'm going to pass it on to the next person. And I know, Deb, you'll call them up. But thank you so much. And thank you. Really, from the bottom of my heart, I'm making my family watch this because I want them to see real life. And thank you for risking everything and doing what you do. Thank you.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
I agree with you, Karen. I grew up watching Johnny Carson's Tonight Show as well and saw all those and, thought Jack Hanna was just the best thing ever because he had all these little cubs and he was, was an ambassador for these animals. And boy, did I get my eyes opened whenever all of this came out. Lisa, welcome to Clubhouse. Did you have a question or a comment for Tim?
Hi.
Hi.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Yes.
Okay, I'm very nervous as a cat. I live in a suburb of Chicago, so pretty flat populated areas, and don't usually see big wild cats. However, I recently saw a video from a northern suburb, and it was taken in a cornfield, and right behind the cornfield, you could see a very populated area of stores and whatnot. It was clearly a cougar, and I couldn't help but think of what you said, Tim, where they said, as far as a leopard, it's a Labrador. There were comments saying it's a golden retriever. And I'm looking at this going, no, this is not a golden retriever at all. So it surprised me because that is not a sighting we're used to in the Chicago suburban area. And that leads me to another question, which is, as far as trying to stop everything we're trying to do with the Big Cat Act, there seem to be these pockets around the country that have more populated areas of these illegal or irreputable petting zoos and whatnot. And Ohio, which is not that far from Illinois, is apparently just rife with them. And I'm wondering if you or Carol have, because you've been doing this way longer than I've been looking into it, I'm wondering if you two have an idea as to why there are certain pockets around the country that seem to have more of these roadside zoo things or citizens owning exotic cats or other animals. And aside from the Big Cat Act, is there anything we can do to focus in on these pocket areas that seem to have a more populated, sorry, I'm verbal.
I understand what you're saying.
Is there a way to focus in on those areas in addition to what we're trying to do?
Yes, there is, and that's what legislation does. If you look at the state of Ohio, once we did get legislation passed, strong, solid legislation, because the governor, Kasich, actually told me, you already have laws in Cleveland, Tim, and Dayton, and Toledo, and all that stuff. You don't need it. Like, I'm saying, are you just mad or what? Cats don't understand they have to, stay outside the city. They walk wherever they want, or any bears or anything like that. But we needed a state law. And I just wanted to protect my state. My state was the worst. As the New York Times said back when our first film came out years ago, the state of Ohio was the wild, wild west. There was no law at that time. The legislation that passed shows you a total difference now in our state. Total difference. We'll run into something every once in a while. I'm working with 2 bears right now. It's every once in a while we'll run into something. But back before the legislation was passed, just throw this out. I had a record-breaking year with alligators. I had 29 alligators one time. Loose in the state, just in the state of Ohio. I'm not counting my Indiana gators or my Kentucky gators. 29 2-Nile crocodiles and a caiman. I'll just throw that out. Big cats, where every so often we get a call. And as Carol can tell you, when we get a call, it's usually 8 in the backyard, or we had in Lancaster with a young lady there. She had 16 tigers, 10 African lions, 6 cougars, 7 wolves, and 1 black bear all by himself. And the reason was everybody dumped their animals on their pets. Everybody wants a tiger cub, but nobody wants a tiger. And everybody gets a baptism in reality in about, I'd say 7-8 months when it starts knocking you around. Then 2 years when it becomes sexually mature, it doesn't need you at all. And now you've got a real problem, And that's what happens. But we need legislation. Legislation does it. If we have some form that the law enforcement officers and the people, the animal control people, have some power to be able to stop that in your neighborhood, then we have something. And it's worked. It's absolutely worked.
Is the Big Cat Act alone enough, or does every single state need to have some kind of legislation like the tragedy in Zanesville brought about in Ohio?
Yeah, I was there for that mess too. If you have a national law, then we have a PDF that all law enforcement and all prosecutors understand that we have a federal law. It can be used across all the states. And in that way it makes it, because it's patchwork across. Like Carney Ann Nasser, one of the top animal attorneys in the world, she'll tell you it's patchwork. It's all patchwork. You go outside Pahrump, outside Las Vegas, you might as well have a zoo out there with people out there, all kinds of animals. If you have stop the patchwork, very good question. Stop the patchwork. You have to have a federal law that everybody understands. And then how many times have I talked to law enforcement? I'm a law enforcement agent. If we knew what to do with these animals, typical example in Texas, 6 tiger cubs. Look it up. 6 tiger cubs in a Walmart parking lot quite a few years ago. Woman was selling them to some Mexicans coming up from over the border. And the police officer pulled in, thought it was a drug deal. They took off, got behind the van, got out. She wouldn't let him in, got a warrant, smashed the window, and it was 6 tiger cubs, white and orange. And then guess what? They confiscated the tiger cubs. The police did. Had no idea what to do with them. The prosecutor. Now I'm down there. I teach at Texas A&M's Disaster City. They call me on KBTX to give my point of view or to help with the tigers. And I said, she's going to get them back. And the Attorney General for the state of Texas says no, she's not. The Dallas Zoo says no, she's not. The lawyer, the prosecutor for the city said, McClellan said no, she's not. Well, guess what? Less than 6 weeks, she got her tiger cubs back because there's no law. So if we have a law, there's people that want to prosecute. There's people that want to do something. So all we have to do is give them something to do that with. I consider this being like hazardous material. I've been working on that angle. These are hazardous materials, zoonotic disasters coming into your neighborhood, public safety, the whole situation. Do you have the rifles to take down an elephant? Do you have that? No, we don't. Okay? You got a situation here now. We don't need these walking, thinking IEDs in your community. And that seems to get the politicians thinking and the local public health and things of that nature. So that's the angle we work at. And Carol and I have been working as a team with other great people on this. Carson Barclay and all of them, from the IFAW, they're on it. We stay in our lanes, we go in, we do our job, and people are listening. And I feel blessed to be part of the team. But we are changing the world right now.
Thank you.
Hey, Daniel, how about you?
Hey, Carol, I just saw Cage Fight today, and I loved it. and I'm looking forward to the conservation game. I already have my ticket. Tim, I guess I'd ask this question. Of all of the calls you've been on for rescuing animals over the years, was the most dangerous?
I get that question asked quite a bit. Now, the most dangerous animal I deal with are chimpanzees. I'm in the process of working with 3 right now. Chimpanzees are the most dangerous, period. Now, I haven't had any incidents with them. The most dangerous animal that I have ever worked with and been around to cause me to just put a chill down my spine was a mamba. I don't know if you know what a mamba is. It's a snake from Africa, one of the fastest snakes on the planet. If you try to get it or get a hold of it to move it humanely, it's like fighting your shadow. And they're deadly venomous. So they have a neurotoxic-based venom. Somebody had it in Indian Hills. They called us up. We went in. It's a very wealthy neighborhood in Cincinnati. Came in. The guy says he bought it, of course, bought it off the internet, came in a box. Please, you guys have to understand that these animals come under boxes under the feet of people on passenger planes. And they bring them in, and he gets his box. He opens it up. Snake pops out. He freaks out, runs out, closes the door. So we go in. As soon as I walk in, I said, now, where's the snake at? He closes the door behind us. And I'm like, the snake's on the shelf right next to my head, looking right at me. And it's dark in there. And we're looking for light switches and everything else. It's like, holy cow. That is the only time I had a chill run right down my spine. I've been grabbed. I've never been mauled. I've never been bitten by a venomous animal. Out of 47 years, out of hundreds and probably thousands now, of venomous snakes and gators and all kinds of animals. It's the calmer you put the situation down. I calmed everything down. Everything slowed down. Everything stopped. Make fast movements. You all seen Jurassic Park, right? No fast movements. No quick stuff. Nothing to startle. Everything calms down. It's like you see the elephant in the living room, 16-foot python in front of a restaurant, downtown Dayton. And nobody knew why anybody was coming in to eat that day. The manager did a 16-foot python out front. Nobody knew where it came from. Nobody raises their hand. It's like Carol does. Nobody raises their hand. Can I have my cougar back? Can I have my tiger back? Can I have my python back? We don't know where it came from because there's no tags or anything on these animals. So we end up getting that snake. And the whole thing was I showed that at colleges across the country. And every one of those college kids will ask me, why is that snake not striking at you? I calm everything down. Everything calms down immediately. They want to know why it's not attacking me like Steve Irwin. That's because I always tell them, I say, because I like the snake, or I like the tiger, I like the bear. I don't want to upset it. I don't want to tease it like we have in American TV. I don't want to wrestle anything. I don't want to piss it off, get it to strike at me. If a cobra raises up and puffs at me, I've done something wrong. That's what I tell people. If the rattlesnake rattles, I've done something wrong. If the tiger snarls at me, I've done something wrong. All right? So it's that simple. The only funny thing I say when all my teams come out, I've never had one person hurt working with me. Not one human being hurt in 47 years, and we've never had one animal killed in 47 years except one lion that had spina bifida that was dragging itself along. The veterinarian said, I have to put this down. It was working with us. It was that bad. But yeah, I'd always tell people everything inside the cage is theirs, or a mobile cage, and everything outside the cage is yours. So don't put your hands in. If your finger goes in, we're going to still continue the rescue. That's how it works. The animals come first. And we've never had any incidences, so we're very proud of that. And we never have any repeats either. I'm very proud of that. We usually get the people working on our side, the owners. If you see the elephant in the living room, you'll see what I mean.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Hi, Key. Did you have a question or a comment for Tim?
Yeah, hi. How are you, Tim?
Hey, very good. How are you?
Good. I'm here on Long Island, and I always found it hard to believe how all these people in the West or the Midwest, accumulate these cats, these bears. And when I saw Zanesville, I was horrified. I couldn't believe that this was actually going on. And I think a lot of this information that you have is important for our children to see what happens before Carol gets a cat and how they lived and now the life they're living now, but what they could be living if they were born free. How do we show these children how it's supposed to be?
That's a great question. First of all, we got to quit using Steve Irwin. We got to quit using Coyote Peterson. We got to quit using these people, even Steve's son as Bobby. We got to quit showing these guys, that as heroes, wrestling and harassing and teasing these animals. That's first of all, we got to stop doing that because it's a monkey see, monkey do. People bring these animals into their homes because they see them on TV. And people say, "Oh, Tim, you're crazy." Even Mike Weber, the director, when I was doing the first documentary with him, "Tim, you're blaming the media way too much." I said, "Then you ask them why they have that tiger in their house or that alligator in the backyard that just bit the neighbor girl." When he started asking them, they're all, "I watched Animal Planet. I watched Discovery. I watched Awesome Possums. I watched Steve Irwin." They're imitating what they see. So we have to stop that immediately. We need to get the Big Cat Public Safety Act passed first. Stop the madness right now in this exploitation, harassment TV that they're doing. And also, you got to remember where you come from, too. Every place in the United States has had some incidents. Here in Harlem, you had the biggest tiger freak show probably in the country when that guy had a tiger in Harlem. I know it's a little farther away from where you're living, but still, it was there in New York City. I think it was like second or third floor. The zoo didn't come out. It had to be the emergency response team from law enforcement. It's always the cops. San Francisco Zoo. Boom. Tiger gets out, kills a boy, seriously injures two. What happens? 2 cops are called off the street. I've talked to those guys. They come in. The guy in New York City in Harlem. Boom. Tiger. He got bit through and through bite on his calf. He went to the emergency room. Just so happened a couple of my partners, doctors had already spoken to them about looking for bites, looking for injuries and snake bites. So what's the emergency room doctor look and see? Hey, that ain't no pit bull, like he's saying. That's too big a radius bite. So they end up going to the house, drill a hole in the door, put an optic in there. There's a big tiger in there, big 300-400-pound tiger sitting in the living room. Make a long story short, they come down the side of the building. It's the most dynamic picture I've ever seen. It brings it all together. Right? That is the poster for the Big Cat Public Safety Act. And that police officer's hanging off the side of that building with the crappiest dart rifle you ever seen in your life. And that tiger's hitting that glass. That's the ultimate right there. They were able to get the tiger out. Make a long story short, I know that one of the head officer was there, ran the whole scene there. He works with me out in Texas at Texas A&M's Disaster City. He said, "Tim, we thought we were done. Everything was cool. They went in just to check the apartment, check everything else. Tiger was darted, taken out in a vehicle. Goes up there and they hear a hissing noise in the bathroom. They pull the screen back from the shower and boom, there's a 6-foot alligator laying in the bathtub. Boom, start all over again. Here we go. Get some reptile people. Let's get this going, right? So it's one of those situations. It doesn't belong just in the Midwest. We might sell them here, but it goes everywhere across the country.
I totally agree with you. That's totally right. And the other thing is zoos. I've never been to the Bronx Zoo. I've never brought my son to the Bronx Zoo because to me, seeing animals behind bars is just so heartbreaking. Even seeing aquariums with dolphins jumping around doing tricks, that's just wrong. And I just wish a lot of people could see that that's wrong. You shouldn't be bringing in kids to watch something like that.
You're absolutely right. I'll tell you one thing. If you watch The Elephant Living or watch the trailer, you're going to be a great big guy. He was a Hell's Angel. He went to prison over his lifetime as an enforcer. He came out as a Christian. He's worked with us for years. He passed on with cancer a few years ago. Big Russ said it perfectly. We had lions in a cage. He's looking down that lion, and he didn't know we were listening to him because we had him wired and we're over checking things out. Mike and I were. And he's leaned over and he goes, "Man, I don't understand why you're in a cage. I know why they had to put me in a cage, brother." And he's crying. Don't get emotional. He's crying. He's going, "Man, why'd they put you in a cage? You did nothing wrong." So to me, I don't disagree with you. There's some great zoos out there. They're trying to do the best they can. These animals are here. We need to take care of them. But let me put it to you this way. They're not prisoners. Let's make it the best place they can be. Big Cat Rescue is like heaven. Some of these rescue places, you got some of Wildcat Sanctuary. You got some of them out there, just beautiful facilities. Wildcat Ridge, beautiful, quiet, and out in Alpine, California, lions, tigers, and bears. They're beautiful facilities, but as they all say in the Alliance, it's still not the wild. It's nice, but it's still not the wild.
Oh, I totally agree. I mean, Big Cat Rescue, that's a paradise, retirement paradise. Those cats are taken care of so well and loved. So I totally agree with you on that.
That's where I want to retire.
Thank you, Keith. How about you, Nancy?
Thank you.
Hi, Tim, Carol. I saw Cage Fight today, and it was awesome. I have my ticket to see the conservation game tomorrow, so I appreciate so much everything that you guys and Howard and Jeff are doing. Y'all are just wonderful. I live in Alabama. We have little to no wildlife laws. Have you done any work in Alabama, or do you know anything about the situation there?
Yeah. It's over the years. I remember I've been doing it for 47 years. I've been down for different things here and there. In fact, I'm not going to say, because a lot of times I have to be very confidential. And it's like my friends and people come and volunteer with us and work with us. They're saying, Tim, we do about 30 different things here, and nobody knows we've done anything. Don't even care if anybody ever knows. I actually was, when I first started doing this, people would say that I was, helping these people too much. If I had, perfect example, I had a Pattis monkey with the world's longest canines, world's fastest primate. A woman had it in her backyard, actually living in her house in a kennel, in her backyard. And it got loose, attacked some kids, bit dogs' ears off. So I was able to wrangle it. It turns out, the reason why they go, let's turn on everybody. Well, its canine grew so long it grew through the bottom of its jaw. So I came in with my team of veterinarians. I have the most fantastic team of veterinarians and human surgeons that we come in and they do it for free. The donations I get is for the medications, for the x-rays and things, because we need to get all the stuff for that and for the movement. And it's wild because we came in and fixed that guy up. Now it's just we're waiting our time for her to make her decision. And then we have to find a primate facility that wants that one guy too. But it's one of those things where you plant the seed, watch the elephant in the living room. There's some sadness in it. I'll give you a heads up on that. But watch it. You'll realize what we do. We work with people and animals. That's the whole thing. I'm a human animal advocate in that order. And the only way you're gonna cure this is through human beings. You got to change their way of thinking. You got to save face when they get themselves in a predicament. And I got people calling me, like my wife says, "Who was that?" I said, "Somebody just starting the train rolling here." They call me up, "Are you the guy from that elephant movie?" I said, "I could be that guy from that elephant movie. If do you like him?" And he goes, "Yeah, that's me." Right? So if they don't like me, I'll even say it. But still, I tell them, I said, "What can I do for you? Can you help me with my bears? Or can you help me with this?" And I go in confidentially, and our guys take care of it. That's what helps me have cops with you as a team. We keep it quiet.
Yes, sir. I don't know why I haven't realized this before, but I saw a note that if we knew anyone in law enforcement, we should contact Howard. So I don't know how to go about that, Carol. You might can elaborate on that. But I just realized I went to school with our county sheriff, and I've seen him in the last year or so. So I know he remembers me. We chatted a second in the grocery store. What would be the best way to approach that, or should I just give his name to Howard, Carol, or what's the best way to approach that?
I would say before Carol says it, just go as a friend. "Hey, how you doing? I haven't seen you since high school." And just tell him what you're interested in, and then see if he has anything. Just test him a little bit, see if he has anything, and then pass it on immediately. And Carol can tell you from there what to do.
Yeah, if you reach out to me, Nancy, I'm assuming you have my email address, then you and Howie can get some talking points together.
Yes, I have your email. Thank you both so much.
Thank you.
Hi, Dawn. Did you have a question or a comment for Tim?
Hi, Deb. Hi, Carol. Hi, Tim.
Hey.
Yes, Carol, I saw Cage Fight. Oh, my God. Tim, I have your book, White Magic. I'm in the process of reading it now. Amazing so far. I am once again on board. I am one of those fighters that will fight and fight and fight for these cats. And we need to get the Big Cat Public Safety Act passed, and I'm one of them to be making that call constantly. And I've got one more person, my representative, to talk to, and I am constantly calling him.
Excellent.
And Yeah, and I just appreciate everybody what you're doing, Tim. Thank you so much.
Well, what you're doing right now is the most important thing right now. Carol's set this up beautifully. She hates it sometimes when I call her the architect, but she is the architect. If you sit down and put this together to make it so it's people will listen to it a little bit better. You know, I talk about government officials. Just that the way they set it up, her and Howard set it up here. Now's the time. Trust me, now's the time for us to do this. And it has to be all of us. It has to be everybody out there calling and talking, and that's what's going to do it.
I agree. Thank you.
May I ask a quick question in regards to that?
Yeah. Yes.
In my state of Illinois, I actually received I received a receipt response from Lauren Underwood, and she responded favorably. She's already on board. It seems the only person in Illinois is Dick Durbin.
Yes,
And
he's
I have a fear of bothering people, because if I do it through your guys's bigcatact.com thing, it goes to everybody, and I don't want to keep pestering people who are already on board. How do I get it? And I've asked them to talk to him. I've amended the letter to ask them to specifically speak with him. How do I get to him directly without continuing to bother the rest of them?
You're going to have to, what I like to do, I'm a little bit more, I wouldn't say forceful, but there's times I'll send the information, I'll do my steps, just like it says in the Wildlife Warrior, the book. Do my steps, I make my phone calls, I send my emails, I do this to individuals I'm trying to get in contact with. Now, if they're not responding or they send you something back, we'll get with you as soon as we can. If you have the time, and I had a young lady, I think it was Alabama, I was going to say in Alabama, where they used to do one of those hang things where they swing on those cables. They actually went over some guy's pet tigers years ago. So this young girl wanted to say, my gosh, there's tigers down there. So she wanted to do something about it. It was a Christian, get this now, a Christian group that were having these tigers and camels and stuff. So she ended up going personally to her senator or congressperson's office and come and sit. If you have the time, I do that every so often, or I send some of my other police officer friends, retired, and they enjoy it. They'll come in and get to know the person working behind the counter, the person, the secretary, and everybody else. And after a while, you'll get your information out. I know it takes time, but it works. And I'm busy all the time. There's times we didn't get Senator Portman until the movie came out. But Senator Portman, I've been to his office in Cincinnati. I know their people intimately down there. So it's one of those things where you can get the message through to the people that are around those people personally, face to face, and say it's from you, whatever job you do or whatever you do. Don't say you belong to any animal organization. Just say, I'm so-and-so. I work as a registered nurse. I'm tired of this. I want something done. And they'll listen to that times they listen to all the others.
I just want to add something in. This is Karen Nash. I live in New Jersey, and I just called them and said, look, I'm a constituent. You need to hear my voice. I'm going to come there, and you're going to meet with me. And I've met with staff. I've met with Josh Godheimer, who is a rep. I've had a cup of coffee with them, and I already knew they were probably going to co-sponsor. But I asked, we voted you in. You're working for us, and I'm coming in. And that's what I did.
Love it.
I hate to break this up because I love you guys talking about contacting your member of Congress, but we got 6 more people and we're already in overtime. So I'm going to call on Leilani.
Hi, Carol. Hi, Tim. Hi, Deb. Hi, everybody. Just a quick comment. You mentioned, because I'm in the New Jersey, New York area as well. I guess there's a lot of us in the Northeast. You mentioned talk shows. Well, as you probably already know, one of the newer talk shows, well, not so new anymore, is Jimmy Kimmel. And I was doing some looking up while everybody else was talking. And another one that I've seen bring stuff into Jimmy Kimmel, because Jimmy Kimmel's one of the more recent talk shows is Dave Salmoni. I'm not sure if you're familiar with him.
I'm very familiar with him. You'll see him in the conservation game.
Oh, okay. I haven't.
You're going to be very happy.
I have my ticket. I can't wait to see it tomorrow. I have not seen Cage Fight yet, but you may know that as recently as a few years ago, he was bringing in cheetahs to Jimmy Kimmel and even other types of reptiles too. He even brought in monkeys, so he's another one. It was just a comment that I had to make for for my area where Dave Salmoni is another one.
Well, we've got. You're gonna. I hate to say love it, but you're going to. When you see David Salmoni, you'll see what happens in the conservation game. You're actually going to jump from your seat. Some people actually did. When you see it, you're going to be very happy. Yeah, he's very much in this film. And to the point that representatives from Disney actually asked representatives of our film, I'm not going to say who's who, is David Salmoni in this film? And that individual said, yes, he's a big part of it. He was one of the major a-holes in it. They actually were very upset about it, which I was very happy about. I don't know if you know or not, I think Carol may know this. It was before the film came out, but Jimmy Kimmel will not have David Salmoni on his show anymore.
Oh wow, that's interesting, but I'm not surprised. But thanks for the information, and I'll look forward to seeing the film tomorrow.
You'll enjoy it.
Hi, Barbara. Did you have a question or comment for Tim?
Yeah, hi, Tim. Hi. I'm up in Minnesota, and I think I saw you. You came up here like 10 years ago to the Wildcat Sanctuary, and you did a big talk just before the elephant in the living room came out.
Yeah.
And I mean, to hear what you're saying here now is awesome, but to hear all that stuff, because you have background information from all these people, and I wish there was a way we could, have a kind of thing where we all pay and just, because this stuff is so interesting. But it was always sad to me that the Jack Hanna part, I always thought he was a bit of a creeper anyway, but it was always sad when you went on the Irwins, because I always liked Steve Irwin, mostly because I grew up in the 60s and all that, and when we would watch the nature shows, like you were looking at the thing going, is that a leopard or is that just blades of grass? You couldn't, where you actually got to see the animals. But I totally understand what you're saying, and I wish there was a way we could get, Robert to kind of back off, because, it's like, just do your photography and, stop all this stuff. But, plus, I've been trying to get the sanctuaries to promote this film, the conservation game, and I'm seeing nothing. I don't know why the other sanctuaries are not putting it on their Facebook pages. But that's just...
Yeah, I can't tell you that either. But the one thing is now the time to do it. And we're doing what we're doing. And I always go by the philosophy. I'm 65. I survived cancer last year. I'm supposed to be dead. And I just go in my mind, we can just do what we can do. You're doing it. I'm doing it. It sounds like a whole bunch of people we're talking to is doing it. Let's just keep doing what we're doing. Don't worry about what the other people are doing. Some people are worried about donations if you go after certain people. We're not going after anybody. When you see the film, nobody's gone after. These people are asked for help, and they turned it down. That's in a very unusual ways.
Yeah, because I've actually gone on their lives and put the link to the 3-day thing right in. Just put it, everybody watch this movie, and boom, put the link in the, in the live posts in a lot of the, like Turpentine Creek and all those places. So thank you. I enjoyed this.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Hi, Jeff. Welcome back to Clubhouse. Did you have a question or comment?
Bottom right, unmute.
Be sure to unmute yourself, Jeff, in the bottom right corner.
As long as I've been in animal welfare, Tim is absolutely a role model and somebody I look up to, and boots on the ground. He's the person that I admire, and it's been a privilege to work with him over the last almost 5 years now. And so when we talk about all these issues, he's the go-to person. Carney Ann Nasser Garcia is the go-to legal person, but the people that Tim's been working with, Russ and Keith, And then, Tim mentioned it earlier, is that the person that put this all together, this is Michael Weber. I mean, the guy he calls us a pack of wolves. And, it's absolutely right. I mean, we all have our individual lanes, and we're all passionate about, individual, the overall cause, but the individual aspects that we have been involved with. And Michael Weber, just the genius in putting it all together, and what makes the movie, the conservation game, just the blockbuster, the bombshell that it is. And I think everybody, tonight has brought up so many excellent issues, and have to realize it just takes one person, to make a difference. And you go back to having worked and volunteered at Big Cat Rescue, Carol's tagline in her email was always "make a difference," and it struck me at the core, probably 10 years ago, is make a difference. You don't have to do it all in one day or 1 week or 1 year. It's if you do a little better every day, you make a difference. And that's how we're all collectively, everybody that's spoken tonight, everybody's listening in, and the people that are leading it, Tim and Carol and everyone else, that's how we all move this, move the movement forward for the better well-being of all these magnificent sentient creatures.
Hey, Jeff, I want to tell you something. This could not have been done without you. I kind of throw this up, but it's kind of a connection here, but I consider, a lot of people, may not like the movie Pulp Fiction, but you are the wolf. You come in and clean this clean it, man. You come in, if it wasn't for you, we call Jeff. If we don't know, go click. Get Jeff on the phone. Click. Get Jeff on the phone. Let him look it up, investigate it. And without those stripes, the way you set that thing up and the way you were, I'm telling you, it would never be what it is. It was amazing what you did. Just remember, I cannot say enough about you and the rest of the team too. But I want to say something too about Cy. Cy he's part of our team. He's always going to be part of our team. I've known him years before, but he actually stepped up when he was on the dark side, seriously, and still was kinda on his way out. And he's he's with us now, isn't he, Jeff?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's Cy's a great role model and example for anybody listening in, because, the world's not black or white. The world's gray. And I always, something I always try to convey at the sanctuary and on tours and with guests is that if we look at the world as black and white, we're not going to evolve. We're not going to move forward. The animals aren't going to benefit. It's if we look at the world as gray, we may not agree on everything, but if we look at it as gray, we can all work together towards moving it forward. So Cy's in the middle. He saw the light, and he said, "Listen, I'm not on your side. I'm not on their side. I'm on the animal side. That's what we're all supposed to be, is the animal side."
Yep. And I was that way in the 70s, 80s, going into the 80s. So I evolved. Of course, I'm older than him quite a bit. So I evolved faster than him. And I just love the way he go on with us. And the love of animals conquers it all. People, right. It conquers it all. You can hate somebody. Bass Pro Shop, and I got PETA representatives together one time in the state of Ohio because we were going to put a canned hunt. Those people hate each other, and they all did one thing. They didn't want a canned hunt in the state of Ohio. And that's right. How you do it. That's what I'm known for, was mediating. I want to bring people together, good people together. Let's do the right thing. And this movie is like you say, poster child of how to bring great people together. And then I just stand back and let you all go. I just happen to be part of the storyline, kind of leading people through this nightmare attitude. And you guys were there. You guys were the kings and queen. No question about it.
And so knowledge is empowering. And I have to give full credit to Howard and Carol and Jamie and everybody at the sanctuary, all the volunteers and staff, is that they let you lose. They recognize, passion and talent and skills, and then they let you loose. They don't constrain you. They don't put you in any lane. They let you. It's always about the animals. So just major respect and tremendous appreciation for in my evolution in everybody's, is that that Howard and Carol and Jamie and the whole team there. It's always animals first, and that's why we're all gathered tonight. And that's why we're all moving forward and I'm grateful for that.
Amen. That's perfect.
CJ, did you have a question or comment for Tim?
Yeah, real quickly to whoever it was that wanted to leave a message for only one lawmaker, just search their name on the internet. They all have local offices with local phone numbers. You can call them and leave them a message there.
Beautiful.
Tim.
Yes.
I wonder, thank you so much for doing what you do and also for coming to Clubhouse. I wondered if you knew how many tickets you sold for this upcoming 3-day streaming, and also whether or not you could share any information about the distribution plan going forward.
Well, I don't have anything to do with the tickets or the distribution. All I can tell you is that the world understands it. Stan, which is a streaming forum down in Australia, has been very successful down there. The UK, Paramount Plus, and Channel 5 in the UK, which is second only to BBC, is going to be showing it coming up here. They just got it. Denmark, Germany, Brussels, Spain showing it at a film festival, or did show it at a film festival. Italy had it on something. The people are jumping on it right now around the world. We just have a problem in the United States of America, because if you see the documentary, you'll understand why. As soon as you see it, you're going to go, oh my gosh, this is kicking them right in the butt, really, because they have, the only way they're going to make their money is if they're going to have little Bobby Irwin with 2 leopard cubs from somebody's backyard in Pennsylvania. That's the only way they can continue promoting. As you heard from Susie with Jack Hanna, that'll put us out of business if we get a Big Cat Public Safety Act. So we need to be able to come together on this. As a production thing, I'm totally out of that. Mike Weber is a genius. I can't say enough about him on how he puts stories together. But I can tell you right now, with Cargo as our distributor, Cargo, Dan, and all of them with them are doing their best. I mean, they're really out there working this, and I really appreciate it. I've been interviewed. Carol's been interviewed for different things, and it's been really. This one's been much more difficult than the first documentary I've been in, but it's been so right. We didn't expect it to be easy. I don't think Carol did easy. And when you see the film, you're like, this is not going to go over well with Disney or ABC or any of them, and Netflix especially. Netflix is just a garbage streaming thing, because they got Tiger King 1, Tiger King 2, come on. And then they're having negotiations with our buddy down there, Mario, who was in the Tiger King from Florida, who's Mario Tribune, or how you pronounce his name. He's the one that did Al Pacino used his character in real life as he was a top drug dealer in the world and went to prison for it. He actually, his people killed somebody, just like in the movie Scarface, chopped him up with a chainsaw. And here he is. They're going to make a potential series with him now, they're talking about. And to me, I've got rid of Netflix. We're not playing that game anymore. And we have to start cleaning this up. You get garbage, you put out garbage, you're going to have garbage. And like I said, stick with what I'm telling you. Monkey see, monkey do. People are imitating what they see. If you don't believe me, the show Jackass as a paramedic. That night, everybody will be out stapling themselves with staple guns, or jumping off a building, or putting firecrackers up their rear ends. Every time the show is shown doing that. Or 101 Dalmatians. They buy Dalmatian pups. Immediately, everybody goes out, knee-jerk reaction. A couple of months later, they dump them off at humane societies. It's a monkey see, monkey do thing that we have to stop in this country.
Absolutely. That Mario Tabro thing is absolutely disgusting. But
Yeah.
Thank you
believe that?
so much.
No, thank you.
No. Thanks.
Thank you.
Hi, Kathy. Did you have a question or comment for Tim?
I don't have a question, but just a couple comments. I think that your authenticity, and I think that's why I started following Big Cat Rescue. Your love of the true caring of the animals, as an animal person and a cat person, that means a whole lot to me, and I will put my money behind that. Your talk has been so interesting, and it's like Deb said, it's kind of lit a fire underneath me, and I'm buying my ticket for the conservation game tonight. And I wrote down the other documentaries or movies that you mentioned, and I will be watching those. So
it's a pleasure to meet you, even though it's online. Anyway, that's all I had. Thank you.
Make sure when you watch The Elephant in the Living Room, there is a death scene of a lion. I want to warn people, okay? But if you watch it to the end, there's a happy ending in the credits. But we had to show the truth, and I appreciate what you said. And I appreciate it very much. It means a lot.
Okay. Thank you.
Hi, Edith. Did you have a question or comment for Tim?
I just had a comment. Thank you, Tim, so much for being here tonight and for your tremendous courage in keeping on with this fight. I saw a cage fight today. I'm looking forward to the movie just went right out of my head. You know what I'm talking about. And I just always a big thank you to Carol and Big Cat Rescue, because that was my awakening when I found Big Cat Rescue. Because like a lot of other people here, I grew up with The Tonight Show and Jack Hanna and circuses, and it wasn't until I found Big Cat Rescue and watched every single one of Carol's walkabouts that I got the solid foundation of knowledge to what was really going on. So thank you, all of you. And Carol, I will never forget you on that bobcat, tearing down that cage. God bless you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Edith. And again, for everybody who's in the room, because I see we've had 140 people come through here. If you have not gotten your ticket to the conservation game yet, you can go to that link at the top of this ClubHouse page and get that ticket. It'll be playing on November 14th, 15th, and 16th. And then on the 16th, we'll have 2 Zoom meetings afterwards, one at 8 p.m. and one at 11 p.m. And I'll be in those Zoom meetings with the producer, Mike Weber. I don't know, Tim, are you going to be there?
Yeah, I'm supposed to be there too.
Okay, so you get a chance to talk to Tim again. So how about everybody open up your microphone and tell Tim how much we love him for being here.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Tim.
Thank you, Tim, so very much.
So much.
Thank you. I love you all. Stay with it. It's going to get
Carol, this is Leilani. Will we get that link, the Zoom link, if we have tickets?
I think so. I think that's when you go to that link, you should be able to find where the Zoom tickets are, because I don't know of any other place for it.
Great, thanks.
And Deb, did you have last minute announcements for next week?
I do. Our guest next week is Heather with Wild Florida Rescue. And if you follow Big Cat Rescue, you know that that is where some of the baby bobcats in 2021 have come from. And Big Cat Rescue has worked with them now a time or two. So she's going to be our guest next week, and we look forward to that. Carol, did you have anything else?
Nope, just want to say thank you, everybody.
Can I say one more thing?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. If you have a chance, and if you're interested, please pick up the book, White Magic, by Tim Harrison. It's got Nora's face on her eye on there, one of the cats we rescued. And I can't say enough. It's on Amazon. But Carol was a huge part of that book, and thank you so much for getting the right facts, the right information I need to continue that.
Tim, thank you for joining us tonight. Thank you for your time, and thank you everybody for being here. I hope you guys have a great rest of your night and a great rest of your weekend.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dad. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Good night.
Good night.
Bye.
Thank you.